In this lesson, I will look at purpose, result, and contrast. To give the purpose of something, we use so that. That is optional in this case. Construction is so that plus can, could, will, or would. The example I'm using, the prison warder locked the prisoner in a cell so that he couldn't escape. I'm giving the purpose of why the prison warder locked the prisoner in a cell. Prison warder is a guard in a prison. The infinitive of purpose. In this case, we use to give the purpose of the infinitive of the verb. In this case, the subject of the main and purpose clauses must be the same. Tom went to England to study English. Excuse me. What I'm saying is that Tom, he went to England, and same subject, he went to study English. Excuse me. Be careful with the infinitive of purpose. Where you have two subjects that are different, in this case we need to use so that. James went to London so that his brother would have some help in the shop. In this case, I have two different subjects, James and his brother. Therefore, I need to use so that. We then have in order to or so as to. These are both formal expressions describing the purpose of something. The company uses only local materials in order to save money. The company uses only local materials so as to save money. Both cases, they mean exactly the same. They are formal forms, and what you would find these perhaps in formal documentations from a company, business correspondence, also maybe on a TV report. The negative form of these, as usual, we use not. Not in this case goes before to. So the company uses light sensors in order not to waste electricity. The company uses light sensors so as not to waste electricity. Again, they both mean exactly the same, and they both are formal form of giving purpose in some way. For. We use for to describe something, how something is used. This switch is for turning on the lights. Alternatively, this is for the lights. What I'm saying is how this switch is used and the reason for it, the purpose for it. The switch turns on the lights. Result. For result, we can use so. Again, that is optional in this case. In this case here, I have so plus an adjective or adverb plus that, like I said, which is optional. James is so strong that he almost broke my hand when he shook it. What I'm saying is James is very strong. The result is he almost broke my hand. Tom walked so quickly that he reached the house before me. In this case, I'm using an adverb, and I'm using so to describe the result. He reached the house before me because he walked so quickly. Such a. Such a we use with an adjective and a singular noun. Again, that is optional. Joseph is such a busy person that he never feels bored. I'm saying he has a lot of things to do. As a result, he never feels bored. He's always occupied. He has no time to be bored. So many, so few. Remember, many and few we can use with plural nouns. Again, that is optional. There were so many people that we had to stand on the bus. People are countable, so I'm using many in this case. As a result, there were so many people. The result was I had to stand on the bus. Opposite, I'm using few. The actors were very disappointed. There were so few people in the audience. The play maybe wasn't very interesting, so not many people came to the theatre, so the result is the actors were disappointed because there were so few people there. So much, so little. So much, so little we use with uncountable nouns. Okay, remember much and little we use for uncountable nouns. Again, that is optional. There was so much snow that I had to walk home. Snow is uncountable. There was a large quantity of snow. As a result, I had to walk home. Little I use for the opposite, basically. There is so little rain that the crops are dying. The past few months there has been little rain in this country, and the crops, as a result, are dying. Crops are anything you can eat which can be grown. So I'm talking wheat, rice, apples, pears, maize, anything like that can be grown to be eaten. Two. Double O. We use to with an adjective plus to, in this case a single O. To, in this case, what I'm saying is it's more than necessary, or more than required, or even good for a particular situation. In this case here, I have a very large wardrobe, guardaroba. It's very big, and I'm trying to get it through a door into another room. So this wardrobe is too big to get through the door. Same idea here, exactly the same example basically, with the wardrobe. In this case, I'm using not enough, again, plus an adjective plus to. What I'm saying here is that not enough is meaning that it is less than necessary or required. So this wardrobe is not small enough to get through the door. In both these cases, the sentences mean the same. You are simply looking at it from a different point of view. The first case, the wardrobe is too big, is the fact that the wardrobe is too big to get through the door. Second case, the wardrobe is not small enough because the door is small. The wardrobe isn't small enough to fit through. Contrast. Contrast we use although. It goes at the beginning of the phrase and it can be used in both written and spoken English. Although James asked her out several times, she still said no. So I'm describing the contrast between the fact that James asked the young lady out several times, but she refused. Just be careful with although, particularly when speaking, because for a lot of Italians, although seems to cause problems with pronunciation. I suggest you have a practice, because some people do have serious problems with although. Similar to although is though. Again, I'm showing contrast. Can be used either at the beginning or the end. It's more used in spoken rather than in written English. James asked her out several times. She didn't come, though. Even though allows me to show a stronger contrast, a more significant contrast than although, and we place it at the beginning of a phrase. Even though James asked her out several times, she didn't come, which was really surprising. If I was saying this probably to highlight the contrast between the two situations, I would probably put emphasis on even though. So I would probably say even though James asked her out several times, she didn't come, emphasizing the contrast between the two situations. While, whereas. While and whereas are both formal and are used in formal speech and in writing, and I use them to compare two facts. What I'm emphasizing or highlighting is the difference between the two situations. While Joseph is accurate in his work, Tom is careless. Whereas Joseph is accurate in his work, Tom is careless. They both mean the same, both formal situations. What I'm saying in this situation is I'm comparing the situation. That Joseph is very precise and accurate when he's working. Instead, Tom is disorganized and doesn't care about his work. However, we use both formally in speech and in writing, and again, I'm demonstrating contrast in some way. It can be used at the beginning, the middle, or the end of a sentence, and is separated by either a comma when we're writing or a brief pause when spoken. In the case here, the company doesn't normally give refunds without proof of purchase. However, on this occasion, we'll allow it. As I'm speaking, maybe you will notice after however I gave a very brief pause to demonstrate the contrast between the two situations. Second example, exactly the same. The company doesn't normally give refunds without proof of purchase. On this occasion, we'll allow it, however. They both mean exactly the same, except the however is in different positions. Proof of purchase basically is something to demonstrate that you bought the item. Generally, the receipt is contrino. Refund is the money you get back when you buy something, reimborso. Nevertheless is very formal. It's a very formal form of however or despite this. And again, I'm demonstrating contrast. The company is not satisfied with your performance. Nevertheless, we are prepared to give you one last chance. In this case, you'd probably see this in a formal letter of warning to someone who maybe isn't performing very well in his or her job. Despite. Despite or in spite of, again, contrast. In this case, these are followed by a noun, which can include the ing form used as a noun. We don't use it with a clause where there's a subject plus a verb. In spite of the cold weather, they still went out. Despite losing the match, they went to the pub anyway. In spite of feeling ill, Tom played tennis. What I'm saying in the first case, for example, it was very cold, but in spite of the cold weather, they still went for a walk. That concludes the lesson on purpose, result, and contrast.